want to read all of these books, and it's just trying to get to them when there's other things I want to read as well. It's hard. Life is really hard. Life of a reader is really hard. Hello, I am Jessie, the Sleepy Koala, and Merry Bookmas, everyone. Today, I will be doing a tried and true old-fashioned book haul. My husband and I went to Barnes & Noble recently and spent much more money than we probably should have to buy a bunch of books. I am very pleased about this because I do really love new books, but we don't often go to Barnes & Noble because A, it's really far away, and B, then we spend a lot of money and we don't want to spend too much money on books. And I think this is only the second time we've actually gone to Barnes & Noble since I moved to America in May. So it's not that common a thing. But I do tend to pick up books at different places throughout. So if I go to Target, I'll end up in the book section looking there. There's a lovely secondhand bookshop in a place close by to where I live. And I have picked up quite a few in between. So what I wanted to do today was not only unhaul the books I recently purchased, but also the ones that I picked up last time and anything I picked up in between. A lot of the books that I picked up recently are things that I've heard about on YouTube, so they might be some of the more popular books or things that friends have recommended to me. They all sounded very interesting, hence why I decided to actually buy them in the end, and I am really looking forward to actually being able to start some of these series that people talk about all the time. The first book is Red Queen, which is part of the Red Queen Quartet. This book follows a girl named Mare who discovers that she has a power that she shouldn't have, and then she has to go through and figure out the world with her new powers. This sounds very interesting. I also adore this cover. It's the exact type of minimalistic cover that I love, where you have a central object that stands out, but then you've done something more to make it stand out even more. So like the blood on the crown just really, really makes it pop. The next book is The Calculating Stars, which I have been dying to read. A friend has recommended this to me multiple times. It's about female astronauts and female scientists back in the 1950s, and it sounds really awesome. The next is Serpent and Dove, which there is very little on the back of this book, so I'm just going to read it directly to you, because this really intrigued me. Bound as one to love, honor or burn, a witch and a witch hunter thrust into holy matrimony. There was only one way such as a story could end, a stake and a match. Just, I love a good enemies to lovers plot so much, and just the tension of having a witch and a witch hunter married and having to deal with that sounds amazing to me. So I'm looking forward to this. Next up is A Darker Shade of Magic. This follows a magician named Kel who can go between the different magical Londons, which are all named different colors. So you have Red London, Grey London, Black London, which sounds like amazing world building to me. And part of the reason that I want to pick up this book. The plot sounds interesting enough. I have heard so much about this book. I've seen so many people praise it and talk about how much they love it. So I'm very interested in reading it. The world building in this really, really captures me. I really want to learn more. The next one I picked up because I thought it looked amazing and I really wanted to own it. It's the Necronomicon, which has a bunch of Lovecraft stories in it. Just like, look at that cover. And then on the spine as well. Like, seeing this spine made me want to pull it out. And then I've always wanted to read Lovecraft. I know it's past Halloween, but reading more cosmic horror things is something I'd like to try. Whether I get to it soon is a different question. But now that I have this, I can easily do that. I don't have to go and try and find something at the library. I can just pick this up from my bookcase and get into those stories much easier. This one I am very excited for. It's Gothic Fantasies, Black Sci-Fi short stories. I am very, very interested in sci-fi, and I would love to read more from Black authors, and this just seems like the book to do it in. It is also gorgeous, like the Necronomicon is, and I love a good textured hardback. They are one of my favorite things. They're so nice. But I am very much looking forward to this one as well. I wouldn't mind reading more short stories just to have something quick and short that I can put in between longer books as a refresher before going on to something else that's big. And this seems like it'll work really well for that. The next book is The Poppy War, which I have heard so much about this book. And it's something that I've wanted to read for quite a while. The themes that it looks at and the depth that I think that it goes into in terms of social upheaval and war and race. The themes in this book sound really interesting, and I'm very interested to look more into the depth of the war and the overall society shifts in this book. The next book is The Bone Witch, which is about necromancy and a young girl having to go to an older mentor to learn how to use her powers so she can help save the kingdom. And I love that idea. I have read other books that have followed the similar path. Ranger's Apprentice is the thing that immediately came to mind with this. But I am very interested in these necromancy powers that make her the Bone Witch and seeing what she's able to do with it. I've seen necromancy powers come up in another book that I can't say because it's a giant spoiler. I don't think it was explored as well as it could have been. So I'm hoping this book really explores the necromancy powers and I can get my fix for whatever it was that I wanted from the other book that I didn't get. The next book is Kingdom of the Wicked. So a while ago, I was in Target and I actually picked up the next book in this series and read the synopsis and thought it was awesome. And luckily found out before I bought it that it was the second book in the series, not the first, and it would have been really nice if that was indicated at all on the book that I looked at. But I found the first book and I would really like to read it because I really like the sound of the second book. This book has two twins. One of them dies. Then the other one meets a prince of hell who is looking into murders on the island that she is on. It sounds intriguing. The second book sounded really cool, so I really want to read this so I can read the next one as well. So onto the books that I have been collecting since May of this year through till now that doesn't include my most recent Barnes & Noble trip. The first is Life and Death by Stephanie Meyer. This is the gender-swapped version of Twilight, and I read Twilight this year and I've always wanted to read the gender swap version and also the version that is Midnight Sun, and I can't quite remember off the top of my head what that is. But either way, I really want to read both of them, so I bought this one and I haven't read it yet, but I'll get to it eventually. The next is The Conductors. This book is the Civil War, the Underground Railroad, but with magic. And I thought that sounded really cool. I wouldn't mind some historical fantasy. I don't read very much of that, so this sounded like a really interesting read. The next one is Founders. I picked this up at JordanCon because I wanted to get a sci-fi book that was just about someplace at the end of the world. And this book is someplace at the end of the world. There were actually a bunch of other books I wanted to get at JordanCon, but foolishly, I left it all to the very end, so they had started packing things up. And the thing is, I didn't take note of the titles I wanted. I just knew where they were in the displays, so I couldn't find them because they had packed all the books up. But I remembered this one because it was on a different display because I bought this from the author directly and I'm excited to get to it eventually. The Priory of the Orange Tree. I have a friend who is obsessed with this book. She loves it so much and I bought it because she's obsessed with it and I want to know why. I know nothing about this book. From a quick read of the back, it seems to have a lot of political intrigue and court mystery, and there's also magic and dragons in it. So it sounds very interesting, but I did buy this because a friend just loves it. So I need to know why she loves it now. It's a big book, so it's going to take a while to get through. Maybe that's why I haven't picked it up yet. There's just been so much I want to read. I want to read all of these books, and it's just trying to get to them when there's other things I want to read as well. It's hard. Life is really hard. Life of a reader is really hard. Another one that I've really wanted to get to, Mask of Mirrors. This book sounds like Mistborn. It's a thief who is going to balls and doing the high life as a con, and God, that sounds awesome. That sounds so much like parts of like the Final Empire Mistborn, And I loved those parts of that book, so I really want to read this one because it sounds like it's going to be very similar. I am fascinated with the premise of the next one. This book is dry. It's about what if all the water turned off, and how would people react to that? And that is a terrifying concept to me, and I really want to know how people would react. So I'm looking forward to reading this book and just dealing with that existential dread and horror of we need this thing to live and it's gone. Next up, we've got Songs from the Deep. This is a book about mermaids, and I haven't read much about mermaids and just wanted to try something different. So I got a mermaid book, and I look forward to eventually reading the mermaid book. Next up, we have Unbirthday. This is a fairy tale retelling of Alice in Wonderland that is set after Alice in Wonderland, and she has to go back. But I love the sound of Alice as a character from reading the synopsis of this book. So, and I wanted to read more fairy tale retellings. So I picked this up and look forward to eventually getting there. But also really want to get there in 2021. That is something I would really like. The other fairy tale retelling I got, What Once Was Mine. This is Rapunzel, but her hair hurts instead of heals. And that is just such an interesting twist on the fairy tale that affects so much of the story. So I am looking forward to this one. I want to know particularly about her relationship with Mother Gothel, if Rapunzel hurts people instead of heals them. Because suddenly, then you've got this mother who's keeping her daughter locked away, but it's for the protection of others instead of just to hide her. And that type of relationship dynamic changing is so interesting. Last couple are secondhand books that I picked up from a bookshop that is relatively close by to me. There are not very many mainstream bookshops near me, but there are a couple of secondhand ones. The first one is Wicked. I actually read this back in high school and I did quite like it, and I saw it and it was cheap and it has green edges. So I bought it and I look forward to rereading it. And the last one is 1984. This one was also from the secondhand bookshop, but honestly it looks brand new. So maybe someone just donated a brand new book. This one was also very cheap and is one that I've wanted to read but have never gotten around to. So now I can. And that is everything. Those are all of the books that go in my book haul, and I really look forward to getting to them. I would really like to actually read some before buying more books. I do have a bunch of library books still that I have to get through, but if I can start cycling some of these through, that would be really nice, because what's the point in buying them and then not reading them? I get that it can take a while to get through them, but yeah, I don't want to buy more just to add them to the pile. Time to get to reading instead. Thank you for joining me. Like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you tomorrow for another Bookmas video. Bye!